Good evening. The time being 7 p.m. and all members of the planning board being present, call this meeting to order. Just as a housekeeping item, just because I know we got a full room here and I'm not sure what everybody's here for, but the administrative action items, the 4 that we have there, just so everybody's aware, those are dealt with just by the board, that there's no public comment for those. Everybody obviously is welcome to stay to hear them, but we don't do public comment for those. And agenda item C, actually, no, I'm sorry, that is tonight. They're not asking to be continued. So that's it. Everything else is a public item. So we'll deal with those as we get to them. So starting with agenda item A, approval of minutes from our February 10th, 2025 meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for February 10th, 2025.
I have a motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Unanimous. Moving on to agenda item B, committee reports, administrative actions. Do any of the members have any committee reports they wish to make at this time?
Nothing here, Mr. Chairman. All set.
All right, we're all set with committee reports. Moving on to agenda item B2, town planners report. Ms. Lotto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item of note, there are no new public hearings scheduled for the March 24th meeting, though I do expect we'll have some continued items. Just wanted to put that out there, that if for whatever reason those items do not get continued to March 24th, this board doesn't necessarily have business to conduct. Next item, we have started planning for the summer community market. It will run every Thursday from June 5th through October 2nd, and vendors will start being announced toward the end of April, and you can visit tewksburymarket.com for more information. Third item of note, the Greater Lowell Y, who operates out of the Tewksbury Rec Center, is offering April school vacation camp for kids aged 7 to 13. So that's for April 21st through the 25th at the Tewksbury Recreation Center on Livingston Street. And the Y will offer a variety of daily activities, including games, indoor sports, arts and crafts, and more. And again, that camp will run Monday through Friday, April 21st through 25th from 8 to 4 p.m. And the packages are available in 2, 3, 4, and 5-day increments. And you can visit the town website or the Greater Lowell Y website for more details there. Next item, the Wilmington Tewksbury Chamber of Commerce is hosting a Taste of the Town event on Tuesday, April 8th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn on Highwood Drive in Tewksbury. So you can sample cuisine from area restaurants and vote for your favorite dishes. There'll be a live auction and raffles, and you can visit WilmingtonTewksburyChamber.org for more information on that. Next item, completely forgot that Patriots Day is a holiday, and I accidentally scheduled one of our board meetings for that day. So I would be looking for the board to entertain a motion to shift that meeting date to April 28th from April 21st. There is only one meeting in May due to Memorial Day and town meeting, so it won't be like we're butting up against back-to-back dates there. So I'll stop there for one moment to see if the board would like to do that.
All right, does anybody have any issue with that?
No problem at all here.
All right, so can I have a motion to change our April 21st meeting to April 28th?
So move, Mr. Chairman. Second.
A motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you for your indulgence on that one. And last item of note, not in your reports, but I did want to mention at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Fratelli and I were discussing the Soldier On Home at 1660 Main Street received its occupancy today, and they will begin moving their residents in over the next couple of weeks, and just really looking forward to seeing that project come online. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item B3, 283 Pleasant Street, approval not required.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Dick Cuco from Woodland Design. We have a piece of property that fronts on Pleasant Street and Deborah Drive. We're subdividing, it's a little over 2 acres. We're subdividing it into 2 lots with over 150 feet of frontage on each road, and each having an acre, so that they meet the requirement for having the frontage on a public way. So we're requesting endorsement under approval not required.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Duffy.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Lazzotti.
No questions.
Mr. Ciampa.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fratelli.
Just one question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cuco, was that lot cleaned as far as issues with debris there and so forth and so on?
Not right now.
No?
That's why it's being subdivided, so that it can be sold, so that the proceeds will pay for the cleanup.
Okay, good. I know there was issues there, cleanup wise.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and then that was all glass, is that what it was?
Well, there's a little bit of everything in there. There's glass, there's, the town has already taken out the fuel tanks, but I guess back in the early days, they used asbestos in the caulking for the glass.
What? Okay. Yeah, with that, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the chair is all set as well. I'll entertain a motion to endorse the A&R plan.
So moved.
Go ahead.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Moving on to agenda item B4, 45 Pine Street, approval not required.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Dick Hugo from Woodland Design. Again, we have a piece of property that's well over 2 acres. It has dual frontage. It has frontage on Pine Street, and it has frontage on Donovan Way. It was originally intended that Donovan Way would be extended someday when it was built about 15 years ago. Unfortunately, the wetlands grew exponentially in that area, so it is only suitable for one building lot. And they got a variance from the Board of Appeals to construct a single-family home off of Donovan Way, and an order of conditions to do the same. So we're subdividing off the lot, so Mr. and Mrs. Whitehouse can convey it to their son to build a home for him and his wife and their new baby.
All right, take it in reverse. Mr. Fratelli.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Just relocating lines, correct, Mr. Cuco?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Champa.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lazardi.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Same
Duffy.
here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair is all set as well. I will entertain a motion to endorse the A&R for this.
Move to endorse.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your help.
That brings us to, sorry, just write these down. All right, moving on to agenda item C, 485 Main Street. This is continued from our February 10th meeting. Once you're settled, if you just give your names to the record, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board members. George Atala from Labra Engineering and Design. I have also with me.
Isra Ismail, civil engineer.
So you have your own mic, so if you just pull yours over a little bit more, just so we'll pick it up, perfect. Thank you. All right, you're all set? Floor is
Yeah,
yours.
my name is Isra Ismail, a senior civil engineer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is a continuous for a project we submitted a few months ago. It's for the addition of a residential apartment unit on top of an existing one-story building on 485 Main Street. We submitted our initial submission a few months ago. We received comments from peer reviewer that hired by City of Tewksbury, and then we responded back to the peer reviewer, and now we're here to answer any questions or if you have any follow-up.
All right. We'll start with Mr. Champa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking it over, I remember we talked a lot about the parking last time you were here. So I just want to have a look. So we have 2 straight-in spaces, fairly well aligned with the curb cuts on Route 38 now, so people getting in and out of the garage spaces will be in pretty good shape. I see we have the loading area again, we have handicap access. Okay, and where did we leave it with the dumpster? Is that designed that the truck will be backing in?
Correct.
And just getting into the site, somehow backing in and then coming straight out?
Correct. It's in the
And-
back of the building.
And we have the data to confirm that they can make those turns inside the site? They're not going to be stopping on 38 and then trying to back into the driveway?
Correct.
Yeah, we can use like a vehicle tracking model to provide the track of the path of that truck. I think there was one comment on that one is that the dumpster pad are within the 15 feet setback. So I would say that we may need to change the location of that pad somewhere. I know there's some limitation on the site, but we'll see how we're gonna deal with that. So the peer review, they said you cannot have the concrete pad within the 15 feet setback or from the property line. So that's one of the things that we need to figure out where we should put the dumpster pad.
So I guess my question would be, we do have a few peer review comments. I think they wanted to see an elevation with the lighting, things
Yeah.
like that. I did not see an elevation in the plans. Are you thinking we're doing some feedback tonight and then we're going to come back for one more? Or are you looking for the approval tonight per adherence to the?
So, if possible, we are looking for approval, and if there's any conditions, so we can always add conditions to the approval, and we can address if they are minor, and you're okay with that.
Okay, because, I would like to see the revised documents with the final comments addressed. I know the chairman will talk to you about the risks and rewards of trying to move forward, and I'm not sure if my colleagues up here, fellow board members, feel that there's sufficient adherence, or if maybe there's just leaving a little too much out there. So with that, I'll leave my comments there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So have you received the peer review comments dated March 4th, 2025?
Yeah.
You have those, right?
Yeah, March.
I think the one you sent me were basically what we submitted. You sent it back to me.
So there was two letters, one November 14th and another one March 4th, 2025.
I don't think we received the March 4th.
That's the latest set of comments, so I did forward them to you, I believe.
Yeah, actually, we did.
We did receive them?
The November 14th one, Mr. Fratalia, is actually them responding in the blue type.
Yep.
They just took GCG's letter, yeah.
So the blue type, is that what they responded?
Yeah, the
That's
one
what
with the
we
blue-
responded,
yeah,
correct?
the one is the blue that some of them, they are resolved, so they said they
Okay.
addressed them. So,
Okay.
yeah, we did receive the one for, on March 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
there's a lot of outstanding comments and things that need to get done still before we can approve any project here. They're on this list. That's why I want to make sure you got those lists.
yeah, I think most of them we can address. We only have, I think the main issue on the site, the parking spaces. Since we are not going to use the whole first floor as a commercial, it's going to be reduced to one station instead of two stations. So the total area that will be used not less than 600 square feet. So what is required by peer, they asking to provide parking spot based on the gross area,
Yeah,
which
that's what
is
you have to do, yeah.
So we need to fit another 3 parking spot, which is we cannot because of the site limitation. So if we use only for the used area, like the one that for the hair salon, which is just one station, then we think that three spots could be enough. Because we
So
always, we
you're
also
looking to
have.
do a 3-bedroom unit upstairs, right? 3-bedroom?
Yeah, we do have two residential parking spot, the one in the garage, that's for the second floor, for the
Okay.
residential area. So the total gonna be about 5.
That's what you want to provide, is 5,
Yeah,
right?
that's
But
what
they're
we-
looking for 8.
They want us to.
So just a comment, Mr. Fratalia. So the business is 600 square feet. And per the rules, you need one parking for 200 square feet. So we provided 3 parking for the
Yeah.
business and 2 parking spots for the residential unit.
Yeah.
So this will be reflected in the architectural drawings that we are going to submit, showing the area of the salon of 600 square feet only. And later on, if we get the building permit, it's going to be based on the drawings of 600 square feet business only.
So how many square feet's in the first floor altogether?
1,100 square feet.
And what are you doing with the other 500?
So storage, open
yeah,
space,
just
not going to be anything. But for the business, it's dedicated only 600 square feet for the business, per the partitioning of the salon and per the architectural plans.
Yeah.
And I understand your concern, but in the future, let's say somebody else going to use the entire floor for different business, then they have to submit a variance to get an occupancy permit, then they have to provide more parking if needed.
Well, you should be providing that parking because it's a square footage number, a big number. not just 600?
Exactly, based on
Is that in the
the,
plan, 600, or you have 1,100?
yes, it is in the plan. Based on your rules, it's one parking per 200 square feet.
Yeah.
And we have 600 square feet business per the architectural plans that we are going to provide as well. So,
All right, so what I'm saying, I don't want to get into, but you need to provide all of these answers that have to be, all these questions that have to be answered before you can ask us to approve your permit, just so you know that, all
You
right?
will,
So
yes.
I need the answers completed and everyone's satisfied to move forward, okay? Sure. All right, good, thank you.
well,
Yes.
Mr. Lazari?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, kind of agreeing with Mr. Fratellia there on a lot of the outstanding comments on the peer review here. So just for the salon itself, it's 600 square feet, and then you're putting a garage to the left of it, and is that connected in any way there, or is there walls in between it?
So we did provide architectural plans. I mean, I have them here with me on my laptop. I guess we can provide them to you as well so we can answer your questions.
Yeah, I think that would help, just to kind of picture what you're going for here with the 600 square feet and the parking requirements.
Okay.
And then just a couple of things that we saw on the peer review, like they called out the ADA spot width for vans in there, a lighting plan, things like that. And then just, is there a signage plan for the business?
Not yet. We did not
Not yet.
provide. Do we need to submit that before the approval, or we can do it after? At some point, we can provide that, or you need that
It can be
right now?
done.
We do that right now? Okay.
Yeah, and because I'm kind of remembering the site, and I think the sign currently right now is on that tree that we're proposing clearing here, right? Okay.
I appreciate, but if you're not up here, I need to have you come up there, and we can do that. It's just, it can't pick you up, the microphone, so. Okay, sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
And then just one other question. So the second story residence, what's where's the entrance for it? Is it the sidewalk around the back? Are they entering through the garage? Or is it through the front door of the business?
So based on I'm looking, it's been a while. I have to relook at the architectural plans. So there's an indoor stairs. So on the first floor, there's stairs in the middle of the first floor. It's going to be an access to the second floor.
Okay. And is that in the salon?
It's adjacent to the salon. So the salon going to be smaller, and adjacent to it going to be the stairs.
Okay. All right. So maybe, yeah, I think taking a look at those architectural plans would really help us kind of understand what's going on here. And that's all my questions for now.
All right, Mr. Duffy?
Mr. Chairman. So what is the purpose of the sidewalk going around the back?
You know, this sidewalk here in the back. Do we need it, or we just?
I think there is a door, the back door, and it was asked by also the peer review. They asked us to provide sidewalk to the back. But I think, yeah, there is, based on, I think, the architectural drawing, we do have a back door that needs a sidewalk.
Yeah, it would probably, like everybody here says, I mean, it would be helpful for us to be able to actually see the architectural drawing that
Architecture,
you're
yeah.
thinking about right there. Are you all squared away? Probably, is the sewer easement marked out properly on there?
It is on the.
20-foot sewer easement, and is that what's marked out in the red on the plan there?
It is on the plan by the surveyor, which is sheet 3.
The sewer, yeah, it's on the existing condition by the surveyor.
Sheet number 3. Right, where is it? I'm sorry, it's still here.
Yeah. Yeah, sheet number 3. The
They mark
sewer
this
line.
the easement.
Yeah, with the easement, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
The easement 20 feet.
I know you have the lift out there. Does that take the place of the ramp? Do you not need a ramp if you have a lift, a handicap lift?
Yeah, my understanding is we are replacing the ramp with a lift, correct? That's for the ADA
Yeah.
lift, yeah.
So do you have both, a ramp and the
Yeah,
lift?
electric elevator.
So you have a ramp and a lift, correct?
No, not the
Or
ramp.
just sidewalk and the ramp?
Yeah.
Sidewalk and the ramp. And, sorry, sidewalk and the lift.
Okay. The next question is, so I know it shows you that there is a rule about cutting down large trees there. What's your plan for that?
So the large tree in the back, the owner is saying it's dying and limbs are falling. So they're gonna remove it and replace it with a smaller tree.
So what about the one in the front?
So we did propose landscaping plan, and we're replacing the existing trees with a new one. And it's on sheet, I guess, 8 or 9.
So you're going to replace one tree or two?
We're going to replace one, the one in the back, but also there is a landscaping plan for the front. We are
Do we
adding
have
some
that
plants.
landscaping plan?
Yeah,
Yes, sheet 11 is
Yeah.
the last sheet
Okay.
we provided.
Okay.
yeah, those are additional drawings that we submitted last time, the erosion and sediment control plan and the landscaping plan.
Okay, personally, I would like to see a drawing of the tree that you plan on replacing there, okay?
Okay.
Okay? With some specifications on it, maybe who's going to do it and so on
Yeah.
and so forth, okay? Thank you. And I have a few more questions. Let's see. Now, I know you're trying to fit an awful lot on a pretty small lot there. So where is your process with the ZBA right now?
With the
For the
ZBA,
side yard setbacks and so forth? And
We will ZBA
Minimum lot area and,
sorry, we were told by the planning board to submit the planning board directly. And then we have, if needed to go to the ZBA, we can.
So a little bit of order of operations here for clarification. The staff had advised them to start with the planning board in case there were changes to the layout, because they didn't want to seek specific relief for a certain setback if that's not in fact where everything was going to settle.
Okay.
So we wanted to get some of the finer site details worked out before advising further on the ZBA if necessary, and that's something that the building commissioner and I will handle.
okay. Let's see. And it looks like you need to make some adjustments to the parking for the passage or loading aisle in the handicap parking space there.
So we're currently providing 18 feet for the aisle. It's supposed to be 24 feet, but we don't have any extra space on site. So not sure if we can.
Yeah, 5.5 feet, I believe they're looking for there. Okay, so you're going to provide something that's going to show that change on the drawing?
If we cut the curb, can we?
I don't think so, because we're gonna have.
Yeah, we will address that comment on the next meeting.
And tell me what's happening with DOT on the two entrances there. What's going on there?
So now we have just one entrance, because one of the requirements, if you have 200 feet front property line, then you cannot have two entrances, just one entrance. So we eliminate one of them, and now we have just one entrance. And based on the peer review, they said we need a permit for that entrance. DOT permit.
Okay, so you have it more in the center now? Is that what I'm looking at on the plan there,
Yeah,
the opening?
correct.
It's existing, whatever existing right now.
Yeah, it was this, yeah, but we have just some modification on the turning radius and the curb.
So are you working with the Mass DOT on that?
Right now, no, we are not.
So you don't have a DOT permit or any of
No.
that? Not even an application in? No. Okay.
No. Yeah.
All right, so it seems like, I mean, I agree with my colleagues here that it seems like that you have a few things to take care of, okay? Because, you know, when you're trying to squeeze squeeze a lot of stuff onto a small lot, you're going to run into those types of problems. So I guess that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
So, you know, they've hit on pretty much most of the, you know, the outstanding issues that you're going to have to go back and, you know, work out and come back with finalized. The other thing is, I think, between yourselves and, you know, perhaps checking in with the office, you may need to figure out, you know, if you're bumping into some of these things that you cannot, you know, change to show, then you're at the point where you need to ask for, if it's available, a waiver for certain things. So the next time you come in, we're going to need to know if you're asking us for waivers for certain things. You know, for example, the parking, you know, you can request a reduction based on the use analysis, but you have to tell us that's what you're doing and then back it up so that, you know, so we can evaluate that and decide whether or not that's, you know, a route that's okay. Same thing for some of these others, you know, but as of now, we're still working off of, you know, you're working on plans, you're bringing in changed plans, but when you get to the point where you can't accommodate something, if you're still trying to get the permit, at that point, you're going to have to ask for the waivers, and then we have to evaluate that request, you know, so I think between now and your next meeting, I think it would be in your best interest to make sure that you figure out what your waiver request may be, so that we can move on to, you know, to looking at that for whatever we may need to look at, as well as getting the rest of these squared away, so we're not still, you know, going through a litany list of things on the plans and whatnot that, you know, we're looking for, or that we don't have really answers for, and I think, you know, that'll help the process, you know, move a little along. I know it's been a while since you guys have been in, so, you know, you haven't had a chance for us to kind of weigh in on where you stand, but I think if you know, from having listened to everybody up here, you know, you can see there are definitely some things you need to take care of, some steps that you need to take before you come back in the next, for our next meeting or your next meeting, you know, if you want to start, you know, move this process forward, all right? So with that, I'll open up to the audience. Anyone in the audience?
Just one question.
Yeah.
I believe there was one comment by the peer review, by GCG. They mentioned that the drainage, they have not reviewed the drainage report and calculations, and I think they're gonna probably need to be submitted to Mass DOT for that. I don't know, if Alexander, if you
Which comment number
the
specifically?
one, the last one,
The last one?
comment. I just want to know if you have any clarification on that one.
Right, so we experience that sometimes with projects that are along Main Street where it meets the stormwater standards to, you know, the best of everyone's knowledge, but ultimately it is going to be a Mass DOT decision, and sometimes once it makes it to Mass DOT after they receive local approvals, there may be some adjustments, and that's just something that if that does happen, as long as you report them to the office and make sure that we keep active copies of what the latest approvals are, you know, certainly we're not going to argue with Mass DOT, it's just to make sure that we have the latest and greatest plans once it gets there. And Mr. Chairman, if you allow me one other note, if you're talking about removing trees along the public way, I would check in with Mass DOT to see if that's a public shade tree. We had a big chat in this room about public shade trees, and those are strictly in the jurisdiction of MassDOT. So you'll want to make sure that you coordinate with them before proposing any removal of those kind of trees.
Like how far from the?
So it varies. It
The road?
depends on the right of way, so you'll have to check with them.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, I'll open it up to the audience. Anyone in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns on this one? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we continue this hearing. Is 2 weeks enough for you guys, or do you need more time?
I think we need more time, just
time,
the
so
following meeting,
So do the following meeting in April?
April.
And is that the
April 7th?
Yes, April 7th, so you can put that to 7 PM.
7 PM? All right, so I have a motion to continue this till April 7th at 7 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll see you on the 7th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. All right. Moving on to agenda item D, 15 and 41 Astle Street. We have a motion to waive the public reading. Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Gentlemen, once you get settled, your names for the record, the floor will be yours.
I distributed to the members, but the rest is in my office.
I'll get started with the introductions, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Plunkett, representing the applicant for the matter before the board tonight. With me here today is Matt Hammer from Landplex, is the engineering firm that will be in charge of the site. This is the 15 Astor Street, 41 Astor Street, also known as 357 Main Street, parcel of land, over 3.3 acres of land. The proposal is 3 buildings, 90 units, accessed only through Main Street. No Astor Street access to the site. The only potential access to Astor Street will be a limited gated emergency vehicle access area to the site, but for the ingress and egress, it's going to be solely through through Main Street. There was a permit issued by the Highway Department. We'll be going back to have that approved with the project that's being presented tonight, but the approval was consistent with what is being proposed here tonight. It's a MFD 55 proposal carried over from the prior zoning. It's going to be a situation where I believe that there's we're allowed 25% coverage, and we're going with 17%, I believe.
30%.
30%, and we're 18%. So it's a situation where, it's our belief that this is a very good project for this location. This is right at the beginning of the Route 38 corridor in Tewksbury, adjacent to the low end of the corridor. We have very close proximity to Route 495. We've got the Lowell Regional Transit Authority with a bus stop right out in front of the site. And this would be consistent with what is being pushed in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the municipalities are being encouraged to fall in line with the theory or the position of Massachusetts that we need to produce more residential units. We need to have more residential development, and this, in fact, is shown by a number of matters that have been passed by Boston, by the Commonwealth of Mass legislature. We have the additional dwelling units to allow an additional dwelling unit in any residential zoned area to allow, again, for additional housing. We have the merging of lots when you have adjacent lots that where a lot cannot be built upon because of the merger theory, in which that two adjacent lots in common ownership become one lot. And the whole purpose of that is to recognize the fact that one of the biggest problems that Massachusetts has in terms of the cost of housing is the inability to create housing. So our perspective is this is an area that is permitted for the MFD 55. It's going to be a very nice project. You have the proximity, as I said, to 495. You have the immediate area. There's been significant infrastructure repair and upgrade leading to 495 that went hand in hand with the development of Walmart and Home Depot and the and other developments in that area. So it's, as we say, we think that it's a very good project. On March 4th, we had the IDR meeting. I think that it went very well. We haven't had any real negative reports coming back. And, at that point, I'll hand it over to Mr. Hammer to discuss the plans as presented and any details that he can give about it.
Good evening. My name is Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering and Surveying, 10 George Street, Lowell, Mass. I'm going to outline the project to everyone, and I will start off with the existing conditions. Okay, to familiarize everybody where we are, this is Astle Street, this is Main Street, this is an adjacent property here at 43 Astle Street, residential dwelling behind this property off of Astle Street, as well as another dwelling off of Astle Street, which is accessed through a common access drive off of Astle Street. The parcel is just over 3 acres. Existing is a 2-story single family that has an access off of Astle Street. In the rear of the property is various garages. There's an old sawmill up in the back. Building here, all of which will be raised, obviously, prior to development. The property gains an elevation off of Astle Street with a significant amount of frontage, off of Main Street, with a significant amount of frontage off of Main Street, wrapping around off of Astle Street. We've conducted numerous soil tests on the property that were also witnessed by the town of Tewksbury. And currently there's a zoning district line that's shown here, which separates the general business district, which is encapsulates this parcel, with an industrial 1 district in the rear. That district line also separates up in this portion of Astle Street where it goes to a Residence 40 district. The suitable utilities out on Main Street as well as Astle Street. And this portion of Astle Street is also a 2-lane, it converges to a 2-lane portion of Main Street before it gets to this light signalization at the intersection of Astle and Main. It consists of 2 parcels. One parcel is here, and this is the other parcel here. There'll be a consolidation plan ultimately in the end to combine both of those parcels. As I said earlier, there's a utility and access easement that comes into the property that's 40 feet in width. And that access easement provides access to the properties in the rear and also provides access to this property here, which is off of, which is as an Astle Street address. But this parcel here gains access off of Astle Street. So for the sake of easing for this discussion is the layout plan. Proposed is an access drive off of Main Street. It was important for us to obtain Mass DOT approval of that curb cut before coming before the board. We knew that the access was going to be critical in terms of having Mass DOT approve this curb cut, of which we've previously have approved, obtained approval from Mass DOT for this curb cut. So there was an entire submission made to Mass DOT for the approval of this curb cut. We knew that the project, it would not be advisable to come off of Astle Street. That's why we went forward and obtained a street access permit off of Main Street. And that access will have one lane coming in and two lanes coming out of the entrance. One for a left-hand turn and one for a right-hand turn exiting. This plan is slightly different than the original plans that were submitted. We've been going through the peer review engineering comments, and one of the comments was to provide a sidewalk to Main Street from the development, and this plan incorporates a sidewalk. So we'll be bringing a sidewalk into the project, which will be connected via crosswalks to each of the buildings within the development. The access drive comes up. There's a parking area here consisting of 34 parking spaces. Each of the building is going to have a below-grade parking garage, which is shown here. That parking garage, each parking garage, excuse me, will consist of 20 parking spaces, with the main entrance here. The access drive will come up. Another parking area will be located here. Coming in this direction, there'll be another parking area here. And these are the two entrances to the two buildings here, which are labeled as Building 2 and Building 3. There's also an access drive here that'll bring access to each of the parking garages beneath two respective buildings, with some additional parking here, as well as a dumpster area that'll be fenced in here. And then we're also providing an emergency access gate off of Astle Street in case that's needed for emergency services, namely ambulatory and fire apparatus access off of Astle Street. The access and utility easement will not be utilized for access into this property. It's going to be separated. We will not be providing gaining access off of this access easement, and this access will be gated off of Astle Street. I should note that the parking requirements require 149 spaces, and we're proposing 170 spaces. So that's in excess of the requirement. As Attorney Plunkett already noted, the building coverage maximum is 30%, and this project will be proposing 18%. Each of the 3 buildings are going to consist of 30 two-bedroom units. Just wanted to also show you that we've done swept path analysis for fire department apparatus, which is shown here. As well as showing the fire department apparatus coming to and from Astor Street. We've retained the services of Lorraine Black, who's a landscape architect. You may have seen her work in the past. She's put forward and put together this planting plan. This information, we apologize for being late in submission. We don't expect the town to have the time to go through this planting plan. But we have submitted it. Just wanted to let you know that we do have a landscape plan, and this can be further reviewed, presumably at the next meeting. But we have a planting plan that's a robust landscape plan, which is before you as well. I've submitted a copy of those today for those. Briefly go through the drainage and the grading. The project's going to be facilitate all the drainage on the property through a catch basin to drain manhole system with subsurface infiltration systems located here, as well as an overflow infiltration basin located here. There's also going to be a 1-foot wide trench drain at the entrance of the project to capture the flow coming off of this portion of the drive into this system. And we have water and sewer shown out to the existing roadways. Additionally, the architect for the project is Jojokis Architects out of Tewksbury, who have prepared these drawings. Again, we received these today, and we've submitted these. We know they're short notice, but we do have full architectural renderings. The building is going to be considered a 5-story building with a maximum height of 60 feet. This is the elevation which would show the entrance garage with the window system in the elevation. I apologize for this rendering. It did not print with the colors that we would have hoped, but it does print better on the 11 by 17s that were handed out. This is the front access here with the entrance lobby access. This is an awning that'll be over the entrance lobby. And then this is the rear of the building. And we do have floor plans and parking garage plans as well. And that's my presentation, and I can put it to the board for any questions.
Anything else, Mr. Plunkett?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Let's start with Mr. Lazardi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just kind of going through this a bit, are all of the units the 55 plus?
Yes, the development will be under the definition of MFD 55, so it will comply with all the requirements relative to who can live at the premises. The property is going to be rental, will be for rental purposes.
Okay, so there's no for sale units here, they're all rental purpose?
That's the intent at this time, yes.
And kind of just about the parking, so is level 1 on these diagrams, is that all parking garage in every unit, and then from 2 through the roof residential?
That's correct.
No. And then I am assuming, based on the floor plans here, everyone is just kind of same all the way up?
Yes.
Let's see, I think you answered my question on the building heights, that the maximum height is 60 feet kind of across the top.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd like to add, Mr. Lazat, that we did consult with the building department about the height prior to submitting the plans, just to confirm that the building would meet the height requirements per the town of Tewksbury zoning.
And then any signage plan with this, or is it residential, so not much you want?
Yeah, we don't have signage as of yet. We anticipate we can add a location for we'll probably have a Fieldstone signage at the entrance, and would submit that separately to the planning board under that special permit.
All right. And then I guess probably my last question for now, like obviously it's a significant sized project here. Have we done any sort of traffic assessment kind of heading out onto 38?
Yes, we have. We've submitted a full traffic memorandum to the Mass Department of Transportation, which they previously have reviewed. And I would also like to note that they have done or are currently conducting intersection and signalization upgrades along this corridor from Astle Street all the way to 495. And they've had this curb cut access permit before them when they were doing those upgrades.
So would the intention to, would you hope to get like a traffic light here, or?
No.
I think that's most of my questions for now. I know I saw that you all submitted some answers to the engineering comments. I've not had a chance to scan through them yet, but I'm sure we'll get there soon.
All right. Mr. Ciampa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In looking at your elevation, you have declared multiple times that the height of each building is 60 feet, not to exceed 60 feet. But if we've got 57'8" to get to that parapet, are we not counting the doghouse on the top here as part of the elevation?
As I've said, these are the architectural elevations aren't a true representing of the grading around each of the buildings.
I'm looking at these dimensions right here, and it says from grade to parapet is 57'8", and I'm looking at this doghouse on the top, which by any stretch, if that's 9 foot something, that's got to be 4 or 5 feet. That puts you over 60 feet.
I understand your question now.
Okay.
So on one side of the building is going to be higher in dimension than the rear of the building, so that when you do the average, it needs to be under 60 feet. So
I'm not sure who we defer to as to who gets to decide which elevation we're going to use in terms of the height of the building? To me, the height of the building is the height of the building from grade to the top. So if we have a grade where everybody is driving in and all of that, that's the main facade of the building.
So that's a good question. So this, when they calculate the height,
That's why the voters put me up here.
yes. So the building commissioner is the zoning enforcement officer for making that determination. So when you calculate the height of the building, it's an average of grades around the building that determines the average height of the building. So on one side, you could have closer to the 60 feet or over the 60 feet, and then the back would be under the 60 feet, but when you average all the 4 grades around the building, it needs to be below the 60 feet. So we had submitted a grading plan to the building commissioner before we prepared these plans, so that we were sure that those plans would meet his approval prior to preparing these plans, because we knew that was going to be critical.
Okay.
And I should also add that I wasn't present at the meeting, but there has been subsequent meetings after this submission with the building commissioner to make that determination as well. So we can get further clarification on that if you would like as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take your word for it that that's how it works and everything. So that being the case, so that I can see with my own eyes, I would like to see the full dimensions
Sure.
of all 4 elevations on
Yes,
here.
we can do that.
Calculator right on there. I can do some quick math and say, absolutely 60 feet, no problem.
Sure.
I would really like to see, I know the existing site has some pretty severe slopes. And I can't even imagine what that does to, ice melt, stormwater runoff, things like that. So we're coming in, we have a landscape wall or retainage wall that we're going to cut back, allow people to drive up the driveway. We're going to be on one level of parking lot. So I guess my initial question is, are all the parking levels the same, or is there going to be some elevation change as we go from the building 1 lot up to the building 2 lot and then over to the building 3 lot? Do you have elevation change?
There is going to be an elevation change. In fact, I should have made note of your prior question about the stories and the elevations. If you go to sheet 4 of the plan set, it's a grading plan.
Yes.
You'll see on the left-hand side, there's going to be stories above grade plane calculations. And you're going to see a very in-depth.
Just a simple electrical guy. That's a lot.
So it's on the left-hand side of the sheet. I can get up and show you too.
I guess what I would like to see is,
Because you got it on your screen, it's not easier. Like, borrow mine for a second.
okay.
This sheet here is a grading plan, very detailed plan. I know there's a lot going on here. Right here, there's a very detailed grading analysis of each of the 3 buildings, and I should have pointed that out when I answered your first question. With that, I can go over the grading. So you come up in grade, increasing in grade. So from here to here is a 20-foot grade increase from the entrance through the parking area up to this point here. Then it increases in grade to here. This is fairly flat here in elevation. This area here is relatively flat in elevation. So this entire section is relatively flat. And I say relatively flat, give or take 2 or 3 feet across that area. This is relatively flat to this area as well to bring you into the 2 garages. So the challenge was get yourself up to this point here, and then this area here is relatively the same grade.
So, okay, I figured it was something like that, which makes sense based on what I know about the site as it is. So I guess, so one of the questions that popped into my head when I saw the driveway leading up and that now we have a sidewalk going down, I recalled we had a situation in another development where the sidewalk was off by I don't know, an inch or two in terms of ADA grade. Are we compliant with ADA regulations if someone from this property wants to get down to Route 38 and cross the street to go to the Waffle House?
We will not be ADA compliant because of the grade differential. You know, this is a private facility. We have handicap parking spaces located within the development in front of each of the buildings to bring someone who's handicapped into the buildings. But being a private facility, it would be very challenging for us to bring ADA compliance down to Main Street from the development.
Okay. You did a nice job, I think it was on the landscape plan. So on the landscape plan, and I think on the rendering, it shows the additional sidewalks that you referenced.
Correct.
The only thing I didn't see was, I don't see a walkway. So Building 3's sidewalk does not have any crosswalk or pedestrian markings to get it to the driveway that leads down towards Building 1 and then obviously out of the site.
So Building 3, we're going to put a crosswalk here
Okay.
to come across so that they can go into this network configuration to get themselves down.
But,
Yeah.
just curious, glad to see we're on
Thank
the
you.
same page with that. Anything here, I thought I saw something in the memo about bike racks, and I don't see anything here for EV chargers. Where are those, where is any of that marked?
That's a good question. So EV chargers have been new for us. We're finding out that you cannot put EV chargers within the parking garages themselves. So the
Even more
EV, so, what's that?
I said that's even more fun. So they'll be outside.
They'll be outside, yes. And they'll be located within the parking area itself.
Okay, so that'll be marked on a future submission?
Yeah, so we weren't sure whether that should be part of the building department's determination, where those individually should go when the permit is being pulled. But essentially, I'm envisioning them to be in this location here, this location here, and a location over here to keep them away from the primary areas. I don't know exactly where to put an EV, the best location for one. I would be consulting with the building department as to where the building commissioner would like to see them put in, but we've made note on the plans that they are required.
Okay. As someone who knows a little bit about them, the further away they are from the building, the
Yeah.
more it's going to cost to put them in. So just be mindful of that.
I just don't know the insurance implications. I know that EV charging in close proximity to buildings, I don't know if they're an issue or not. I know they're an issue to be in the garages themselves. I currently park in a garage and we have them in the garage, so I don't know if they're going to be allowed to be in the garages or not. But essentially, we're going to need to put in the conduit to provide those EV chargers to meet the 20% requirement.
The last thing I would like to see, if you come back, is I would love to see a Route 38 street level elevation of the entire project. So
Okay.
the driveway, the retaining wall, the lower building 1, the upper building 2 and 3 in the backdrop, and get a sense of the scale from Route 38. I understand the building meets the maximum height, but if we're putting and I forget, I think you said it was a 20-foot rise from the initial Route 38 driveway up to the parking lot, and then it's
Yeah.
another 4 feet from lower parking lot to upper parking lot, then 60 feet on top of that. We're talking about 84 feet from Route 38 sidewalk grade to the top of buildings 2 and 3. But depending on where, that's average elevation, as we talked about. So, the actual top elevation could actually be closer to 90 feet. That's pretty tall. I mean, that's a 7-story building in downtown Boston. That has a presence. So that's just something I would really like to see. To my mind, I know there's a project on Route 38 in Woburn where they have a driveway that goes up probably 60 or 70 feet.
Okay.
And I'm not saying this is anything that extreme, but I'm just saying, did somebody really look at that and realize that if that thing even remotely ices up, people are just going to be sledding down that thing and going into the retaining wall? So I would love to see a full elevation across with appropriate size landscaping of the trees. I'm assuming the new trees will be somewhere between 6 to 8 feet, maybe 10 feet. So I know the elevation here. So we're looking at, I mean, on this side here, if this is 50-something feet, those are 25, almost 30-foot high trees, because we can't even see the bottom of the trunk there. My guess is our actual trees are going to be like little tiny guys, probably somewhere around here. We're not going to be providing that much privacy and whatnot, both for the residents and for the people walking along 38. So it'd be nice to see a accurately scaled elevation,
Sure,
and
we
get a
can do
sense
that.
of how that comes up from the street up into the development, and
Right.
then just what we're looking at up in the back there.
Yeah, but I think it will be important to show the scaling, cross-section through the project, so we can most certainly do that. And to make a comment related to the people sliding into, not to make light of that, but the grades, even though there is a 20-foot difference between essentially the upper parking lot to the entrance, that those grades all meet the requirements for grades required, or that you can't go beyond per the town of Tewksbury's regulations. So we can assure you that the grades are not going to be such that it's going to create an unsafe condition coming down onto Route 38. And that intersection grades have been analyzed by Mass DOT as well as TEC, the peer review engineer as well.
All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Hammer.
Thank you. Mr. Fattalia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Hammer, and I'll mention to Mr. Plunkett as well.
Thank you.
I come into the meeting this evening, and I've got an 11-page report from you guys for my review, as well as plans and documents. That's really unacceptable for myself and I think my planning board members to get these at a late date. There's no way I can review this 11-page document prior to the meeting to make an actual assessment of what you're saying in these 11-page documents. You know, I mean, it's just not fair to us. And I can't comment on some of these 11 pages because I haven't seen them yet.
Understood.
I mean, you've been around a long time, you know that that's really unacceptable. We should have these sooner or else at our next meeting so that we can make a good, reasonable judgment on what's provided here. So just for that, I mean, this isn't the first time it's happened, not just you guys, but other people have done it, and I've said the same thing to them. It's not fair to my board members and myself, all the plan to get this stuff this late, so.
Yeah, and we apologize for that. I just wanted to show that we are addressing every comment. We expected this to be more to get some feedback from the board as far as the project overall, as well as the abutters, obviously, that are here in attendance, and did not want to continue for that reason. So we do apologize for that.
I can't give you feedback on papers I haven't read yet.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
so, you know that, it's not something new, so, but, and I'll move on. So, reading some of the documentation, so you do not have a Mass DOT permit for the site presently, correct?
We were issued one, we let it expire, and we intend to renew that.
Okay. So the answer is no, you don't have one for this site yet.
Well,
We do have one for the site. That will be
expired, though.
renewed, and it would be a condition. Our only source of entry to the site will be through the entryway as approved by Mass DOT. So that's the only way we're going to have entry into the site.
Right. And you don't have that yet.
They did.
Yeah, but you had it previously, but now you don't have it now. Okay, all right. So I was here on the board in 2018 when you guys came in, 2019, and again now. So what's drastically changed from the old plans to the new plans, or?
That's a good
Vice versa.
question. Yeah, not a whole lot has drastically changed. Hence the reason why we wanted to keep this project relatively the same as what was originally submitted, because of the importance of the Mass Highway curb cut that we had already obtained. We're confident that we're going to have a renewal of that street access permit from Mass DOT. That was the main reason why we went through that exhaustive effort to do that. That was a lot of work for us to get that street access permit. But this project hasn't changed a whole lot from that submission that you saw back in 2018, Mr. Vitalia.
Okay, you have changed the numbers from 77 to 92, right?
To 90.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 92.
So
With the
you're
two-
adding that building, two-family building on the corner, correct?
Well, that's part of the entire,
project?
yeah.
Okay. So the soil tests that were done, they were done in plain view with the DPW, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Mr. Kevin Hardeman, who was the agent for the Department of Public Works,
Okay.
witnessed those soil tests with our soil scientists for those logging of those soils.
Okay, great. So you're not planning on putting any lights there, correct? A stoplight to get in and get out, access-wise?
No,
No street, no, okay, signalized light, no?
No.
Okay. So a couple other questions I have. So the property, the building will be 60 feet high, correct? Grade to,
that's correct. The average grade will be 6 feet,
okay,
yes.
all right. Do you think that's imposing on the residents of Astle Street at all? I mean, you got a 60-foot building. You'll be looking in their backyards, in their windows, and on top of their roofs by the time you get 60 feet up from the very top of the development.
We're going to have the rendering to show the elevations and everything else, and I think that this fits into this area, specifically along the Route 38 corridor, and would go hand in hand with other developments along the corridor further away from the 495 interchange. So, I think that we'll see what see what we have when we produce the the elevation plan, and our feeling is that this is very much in line with, this area of this location, specific to the alignment towards Route 38. That's, basically what the alignment of the project is going to be too. This property here.
Yep, so 51 Astle Street is the closest residence to the property, as well as 43.
Yeah.
We also anticipate, as time goes on, these properties are located in an industrial 1 district. So we expect that these areas presumably will be further developed in the future.
So you think residents are going to move out over the years?
No, I'm just saying the
on
way
Astle
that...
Street because of this project?
No, I didn't say that, Mr. Vitalia.
Okay.
I said that they're located in an industrial 1 district. Okay, they're not, okay, so based on that, there's a presumption that things could change in the future related to the properties in and around this property. That's all, that was my only point.
Okay.
I did not,
Well, I mean,
I did not imply that,
No, okay.
that someone should move out of their
No,
house.
But they've been living there all for years and years and years on that Astle Street in that particular district, and I don't see it happening, but you're entitled to your opinion, but whatever.
The use as proposed is a use that is an allowed use under the zoning bylaw.
Yep.
And we'll do, excuse me, we will do what we can to mitigate, if necessary, to the extent possible, but we're not proposing a use that's not an allowed use under the bylaws of the town of Tewksbury.
Sure. All right, that's all I have right now, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to get into any more, but that's fine right now. Thank you.
Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second. So, Mr. Hammer, I'm thinking that it's because the permit expired, that doesn't automatically mean that it's going to get renewed.
Would I be, is that a fair assessment?
Prior projects that I've been involved with, we always go to Mass Highway, especially in these areas that require that curb cut to be the critical part of the access to a development, to be fully vetted, whether it's through an email, an acknowledgement, or an entire submission to show that we've exercised traffic, site distance, the configuration of where we're coming into the site, to be issued something in writing. In this particular case, we didn't just get an email or a letter or some sort of memorandum of acknowledgement about the project. We were issued a full street access permit. Hardly anything has changed in this area, and they've had this information prior to doing the street signalization, which has been going on for quite some time. We're confident that they're going to reissue the street access permit for this development. I know that we really can't use COVID as a reason why we can't do some things, but we have reasons beyond that that are going to support the reissuance of the permit, namely the zoning opinion that was provided at the time, because we were ready to submit back when we obtained this street access permit. So there have been reasons why we're getting to this point that we're at now. And through those reasons will be, in my mind, acceptable reasons for them to reissue the street access permit. So that's why we're confident that that street access permit will be reissued.
All right, well, my battery died on my computer here, so I'm just going to give you a few quick questions that I have out
Do
of
you
my
want a set of
memory here.
plans? I have extra sets of plans.
I'm good.
Okay.
So my understanding is that it's DOT that needs to provide the traffic survey. And where is that in the process?
We do the traffic survey. We do the traffic survey.
So that wasn't my understanding. My understanding where it's, entrance and access on Route 38, that it's the state that does the traffic analysis.
They do not. Sorry. We do the traffic
Okay,
analysis.
so maybe you can get me a confirm on that. I guess I would like to see something on that. I just can't see, and I'm gonna piggyback on Mr. Champa's comments on the grade, from 142 to 156-ish on the driveway. I just can't, for the life of me, see how vehicles are going to come down that driveway in the middle of the winter, like in the weather we had here a few weeks ago, and not be slamming into the long line of cars that's lined up on Route 38 there at the lights. That is going to be a pretty tough driveway right there. So we'll just kind of leave that for a moment. And I don't know any other way that you could reconfigure that. You would need to do hairpin turns up the side of that hill, to avoid that. And that might be an option rather than trying to go 90 degrees off of Main Street there. And as Mr. Champa mentioned, I mean, you're talking elevation 42 Main Street-ish, to 180 plus the building. You're talking, between 80 and 100 feet from standing on Main Street to the rooftop of that building. So that being said, too, I don't see anything really that tells us what the retaining wall is going to look like.
Okay.
So if there's going to be a 10-plus foot retaining wall along Main Street there, A, we want to see what it's going to look like, but B, I saw some conflicting information as far as drainage goes. It seems like you have a number of drainage issues to address there, but one of them was whether the retaining wall was going to be pervious or impervious, so that what happens if there's, water leaking through the 10-foot wall onto Main Street. And so more detail on retaining wall might be useful as well for, for myself and my colleagues here to try to make some kind of a decision on this.
Okay.
I did have some other questions, but I'm just going to have to put those off till next time.
Okay.
And I do agree with Mr. Fratelli too. Don't be dropping stuff in our lap, after the meeting starts. It's just not, it's not right and it's not fair. Okay, it's not fair to us. It's not fair to the people that came here to see what's going on with this project. So, try to have a little more consideration. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Duffy. All right, so we sort of danced around a couple of these, but you mentioned the traffic study. Do we have the traffic study?
So the traffic memorandum and street access permit was submitted originally with this submission. So
Do we have the traffic study?
We have the submission from the State Highway Access Permit application from November of 2018, so I don't think there's anything
Oh,
new.
okay.
Yeah,
Let me
so-
step back. Because we've also, this I guess feeds a little bit into the permit thing. I don't want to keep dancing around the permit thing. There is currently no active permit. The permit has to be reapplied for. So are you currently in the application process to have the permit reissued right now, today?
no.
Okay. So I know there's not really a huge change to the project that's being presented from when it was approved in 2018.
Right.
But it expired in 2019. You referenced COVID. COVID happened and all of that since, before we're now back to the new time. So whether or not DOT is going to approve that or not, there are other changes, not to your project, that they may consider. So we don't know. You can't
That's
tell me
correct.
with an absolute certainty that they'll approve it, which is fine. That's up to you guys. You're going to have to get it dealt with. But we've kind of danced around this as if the permit exists. It existed at one time. It does not presently exist. And there is no absolute guarantee that it will exist in the future. There's the hope that they will reissue it, considering what they did before, et cetera, so that we're all on the same page. Is that accurate, what I just said?
That's accurate, and I'll just, obviously, we're going to get some further confirmation on this prior to the next meeting.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So,
I'm
and
just, it's gone a little bit around the bend here, and I just want to make sure that what I just said is accurate.
That's
And if
correct.
that's true, that's
Yeah.
all I really need at this point.
Right,
All
yes.
right, okay. So then to the traffic portion. It's now 2025. This board needs a traffic study that tells us what's going on right now. Like, you may want to use the one that you used with DOT from 2018, and that's fine for whatever. If they want that, I can't imagine DOT, when you file with them, isn't going to ask for a 2025 traffic study. So we need a 2025 traffic study to evaluate what 90 units on this property is going to do coming out under 38 in 2025. So I'm not sure we get very far from where we are right now until we've seen what's going on with traffic, because I see a room full of people here. I could throw something from where I'm sitting right now, and I'm bound to hit somebody who is going to say something about traffic. It's nearly impossible for me not to do it.
I wouldn't bet against that.
All right, okay. And I could probably keep doing it, and I'd keep hitting people. So, all right, so we need that. That's an absolute. To Mr. Ciampa's comment, because I think this is what he meant too, is when he was talking about the elevations, you're actually talking about a rendering, right? You want to see a rendering? Okay. So,
Ideally, I would love to see a fly-through.
okay.
as you go.
So to build up Mr. Ciampa's, so if I understood what he was talking about, a rendering sort of from across the street in front of Vic's, going that way towards the project of what it's going to look like. So if you were standing on the sidewalk across the street at Vic's, what's it look like? As close as you can get to what it would really look like from over there. Now, I want to add to it, I want to know what it looks like from the point of the triangle piece and from the other side of Astle Street. So where you have that private access for only emergency vehicles, from something across the street from there looking at it. Because with all the different elevations and all the rest of it, and we're talking about rather large buildings, what people see from those spots is, a relative, realistic idea of what this looks like in real life. I mean, the one for inside the place that you gave us, that's great for being able to see the details, and I appreciate it. I like all the renderings we can get. But that's not what it looks like, you know, in real life for people just driving by and all those things. As Mr. Plunkett pointed out, we're talking about this is kind of sort of the gateway, you know, into Tewksbury. So anytime we've dealt with a project that's on the gateway anywhere within town, you know, we want to know what it looks like and what it's going to look like to people going by, you know, day in, day out. Is there an affordable component to this?
No,
There is not.
no. MFD 55 doesn't have a affordable component.
Okay. Well, that concerns me that there isn't one, in that we're talking about adding 90 units to, you know, our total, but no offset to our affordability total. And, you know, you got at least one ask in here, and that's regarding the height for these buildings. It's not something that the board has to grant. It's something the board can grant. And I don't know if you'll end up with any other waivers in this as we go forward, but, you know, if you're asking for something, I don't think it's out of line for us to ask for something. And I mean, again, to Mr. Plunkett's point, he mentioned, you know, the state's interest in housing and all that. The last piece of that is the state's interest in affordable housing. You know, that last little piece left off the end. It's something, you know, we've cared about here. I know that this project's actually coming in as a holdover. You preserve zoning. And you can go back and check it, and if I'm wrong, I'd be stunned. But I believe that we had other zones that didn't have affordable requirements, but we knew what the changes were going to be in the new zoning law. And we made everybody aware that we were going to treat projects even when they didn't have an affordable component, looking for one, especially if you ask for something from us. So I think you might want to take a look at the ability to fold in an affordability component into this. I'm missing one.
Does this guy get paid by the word?
Any other thoughts? So, you know, everybody else has kind of hit on the technicals. You got a lot of stuff you got to deal with in terms of the plans, so there's no point in going through most of those. But I mean, most of these are, I think, you know, these are going to be, to me, they're going to be some key answers to how far we get from where we are right now.
Sure.
All right, so with that, I will open it up to the audience. Anyone in the audience with any questions, comments, or concerns, you can come on up to the podium. Just give your name and your address. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening. Thank you. Appreciate the chance to speak. My name is Ralph Bliss. I live at 249 Astle Street. Admittedly, I am not a direct abutter, but I am a neighbor of the folks who are. I appreciate the questions that this board has already brought to bear here, in particular the renderings from Astle Street, because it's going to make a heck of a difference in terms of, if you will, the quality of life traveling up and down that road. One point, and you're not going to have to throw anything, I'll volunteer, I'll be the first one to ask a question about traffic. I stood in this room in 2018 when the original plan was coming up for review, and traffic obviously was a great concern, primarily the egress coming out of the plan, making a left, trying to get back towards 195 with the traffic that's already backed up from the Pike Astle Street corner past Walmart. You can't get through there now. Further, the inability to make a left turn into the property once you've got beyond that light and you're headed to 495 already. There's a safety issue there. At that time, the question was raised about a traffic study, and I've got a copy of the one that was presented. It's dated November 13th, 2017. And I stood in this room while the engineer who put it together admitted that it had nothing to do with the configuration that we have in front of us. It was a composite assessment looking at different traffic configurations, none of which had anything to do with what we see in these plans. Okay, so thank you for addressing the traffic question. So again, I'll try to make this brief. I was really surprised to see this project come up again. First, because of the issues of traffic, and then the fact that the project is inconsistent with the neighborhood. Aesthetics aside, just the loss of forestation and the fact that it's a concern, and I know that the Board of Selectmen at the time had a serious question as to whether or not the project had the correct backing to go forward. It was a very large project. So when I read Mr. Plunkett's letter to the board, and I noted a couple of things here, and I'm just going to bring them up quickly. It talks about the approval not required situation where there was an approval provided back in March of 2022. And cites, book and page. And so I took a look at it and went back and reviewed the minutes from your meeting at that time. And the meeting approval for, or submittal for an approval not required was not for Main Street, but was for the two properties on Astle Street individually, 15 and 41. The only thing that was requested was that they approve the fact that you've got an acre plus and 150 feet plus. And the plan that was filed with that was dated the 16th of February 22. That plan had none of the buildings on it that you see here or in the plan that was submitted.
So I'll save you a little bit of trouble. We did a few of them earlier tonight.
Good.
The approval not required, literally that's all it needs. They just need to have the correct size and frontage. None of the parts about whether or not you build on them or if they're even buildable lots is factored into.
Okay.
That's why the approval is not really required, because you're not really you're not okaying anything other than simply endorsing a plan that meets requirements.
It's just though for Astle Street properties as opposed to 357 Main Street. I'll move on. The next issue, and I understand that you're going to have to go back for DOT approval again. I did take a look at that. The write-up that was provided was for 300 Main Street, not 357 Main Street. So please, when you get whatever your new submittal is, try to connect the dots. Kind of the bottom line, I'm seeing, just the disconnects between the different data points along the way. I am requesting that the planning board dig into all of the materials that are provided. I don't support the project. That should be obvious. Again, traffic risk, the lack of aesthetics. You mentioned the traffic again. The traffic was bad in 2018. It's worse now. Astle Street is suffering badly from the increased traffic on Main Street. Everybody's trying to bypass that and go down Astle Street. Astle Street continues into Sprague in Lowell. You drive up there now, Lowell saw fit to put 2 speed humps right over the border. I'd love to see a couple of those on Astle Street.
You wanted to give it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns? I think he's going to beat you to the mic, though. Everybody will get their chance.
Thank you. I'm Walter D. Grant. I live at the far end of Astle Street. I've been here 69 years.
Sir, just for the record, the address, if you wouldn't mind?
What's that?
The address. The number of your address.
330.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Being a carpenter, I'm in and out of Home Depot, 72 years old. Traffic routinely backs up way past this proposed driveway here. Without a traffic signal, people aren't going to be able to get out, right? And as the gentleman mentioned, they put 2 speed humps on the far end of the street on a quarter of a mile of Sprague Avenue, and they work good, okay? Another thing I'd like to say besides this traffic mess here, because people are going to come out of here wanting to get to 495 in the morning, and they are not going to get across 2 lanes of parked cars coming in to go out. Same thing coming back in the afternoon. People they're tense, they want to get home from work, they're flying, and there's going to be accidents, there's going to be road rage. It's just a nightmare without a traffic signal. And as far as I can see, if the traffic signal's to go in, the least expensive, most efficient way to do it is when you're doing the site development, and it needs to be borne by the people with the project, not back on the taxpayers a year later, and then we have to get the state of Massachusetts involved in the whole project again, figure it out, and it's a mess. And everybody in town has to pay for it. Needs to be done up front and addressed. That's what I have to say about this, because if we have to retrofit it, it's going to cost 10 times more than the initial, and the town of Tewksbury shouldn't be responsible for it in the first place. Not our deal. I also noticed on the site development, they'll be bringing the equipment in through the access on Astor Street. That's fine, except for the fact that parts of Astor Street are in bad shape. So now we're going to take 18-wheelers, 10-wheelers, concrete trucks are going to be pounding the hell out of the street, right? Once they're done with the development, who pays for repairing or repaving the street? Again, that's going to fall back on the taxpayers. It's not fair. If you're going to use it and do it and it goes this way, they should be responsible for resurfacing the street, because that equipment isn't going to go out and go down to Main Street. It's going to go out the far end of the street where the rest of us live, and it's going to go out to the highway that way. So those are two of my big concerns, you know. A project of this size without a traffic light, it's insane. I don't see it with the biggest bottleneck that we have in town. The bottleneck we have at this end is worse than the Shawshene River bottleneck that we have up the other end of town. And that's what I have to say about that. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of the people in this room here. You know? Okay. Thank you.
Larry Ministeri, 6 Neptune Street. Traffic is already an issue. It's going to be a major issue. They put in a project like this, especially coming out on the Main Street like that, like the gentleman just said. Coming up Main Street from Tewksbury, taking a left into that property is 100% going to be impossible at certain times of day. The other issue I have is drainage. Because of where I live, my backyard is the lowest point in that neighborhood, directly across from Main Street right there. My yard gets filled with water just on a regular basis. If they do a project like this and the drainage is not done correctly, my house will be underwater. I will have to sell my house. That house will probably have to be torn down because of that. That's a real issue. You're like, you know, dealing with people having to possibly move because of something like this, because of drainage not done correctly. Like you said, gentlemen, that, you know, that retaining wall is not done correctly, and that water leaks out of that retaining wall on very, very, very rainy days, which we've had quite a bit of. That water is going to wind up in my backyard. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns?
See it on the mapping.
Oops, sorry.
That's
Tammy
all right.
Ministeri, 6 Neptune Street as well.
If you would just pull the mic down a little, perfect.
I'm having a little problem, I'm sorry. Tammy Ministeri, 6 Neptune Street, too. I do have a question on the easement coming into Main Street. Is that for commercial when it was designed from DOT, or is that for residential?
Do you want to answer the question? I mean, I believe there was a similar project to the project you have here that was presented. That's where they got the original permit back in 2018 based on. So something like this, basically, was
Okay.
what they were using when they asked for the permit and had it granted previously.
Okay. And then the only other concern that I would have is, one, just the size of the building going in that area as you drive into Tewksbury. It's great if you want to take half of that, if not a fourth only. Putting a building like that, I feel bad for the neighbors that are going to have people steering into their houses, because I've been the places in Boston. I work in Boston, 13th floor. Some are going to be similar to that. People are going to be looking into other people's houses. being up that high unless they put trees for privacy for those people. And then my last thing is the retaining wall. Would be something I would be concerned about with the water. If I'm not mistaken, within the past 5 years, Saugus had a similar situation with the retaining wall falling down. And there was houses on a project. So that's just something that I would be concerned about. I'm not an engineer, so I don't understand all of that, but it happened within the last 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, on a retaining wall. And you're asking to put more filler in where we have it. It's just a nightmare. And then Pike Street going down with Astle, they can't put salt there, so the drainage is going to be more. There's been car accidents after car accidents in the winter when that freezes in that area. And I know, too, when you come down, last thing is Veranda, I believe it is, when you come down from Pike and go straight across into that back area, there's houses right there that have water problems as it is. And I believe they're going to have more of a problem with that. So
Thank you.
that's just mine. Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns?
Don Dooley, 244 Astle Street. I want to thank the board for asking the right questions. I will agree with pretty much all the comments. The traffic already is bad on Main Street. Even on a Saturday, it backs all the way up. So I really don't think we can have another big load of traffic coming down Main Street. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or concerns?
Lisa Anderson, 235 Astle Street. I don't understand a lot of this, but I don't understand why there would be an access way for emergency vehicles on Astle Street. If it's for ease to get into the complex, that just shows that what's the problem using Main Street? Why can't you get down 38 to get into the complex?
Do you want to answer it?
So we don't necessarily have to have the emergency access off of Astle. It's just good engineering practice to provide an additional access for the safety of the people within the facility.
Okay.
Just a bit to feed off your question, I'm sorry, but in your conversations with public safety, did they mention yes, no, thank you, or anything?
The fire department appreciated the access from a safety standpoint. So, it's always been something we try to incorporate in a project like this.
Okay.
So that would be emergency vehicles only, right? Fire, police,
That's
ambulance,
correct.
right?
That's correct.
And then did all have access via the code for that gate to go up?
Only if they would need it. Only if they would need it. The
Yeah, but
primary.
they would have it on site, right? In case
that?
they would have that code on
Yes.
site or at the trucks, right? Yeah.
And when we had a interdepartment review, what we call an IDR meeting recently, this came up, and apparently that technology or what they require can change over time, and we just told them simply that we would incorporate whatever the latest technology is, and we can put into the homeowners association for the development itself for the owner, that would need to be compliant moving into the future as well.
Okay.
What is I still don't understand what the safety is. If all the other businesses only have one entrance and exit to get in for an emergency vehicle on Main Street, why would this not only have one entrance and exit also? Because accidents will happen throughout all of Main Street. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is it a traffic reason that they won't be able to access in and out easily?
No, the emergency vehicles might be very, large fire trucks and ambulances and whatever is deemed an emergency vehicle within the town, and the preference is that they have as much access to the site as possible.
Okay.
So it's more to meet the wishes of the emergency providers to say, hey, we'd like to be able to get another access in there because, they're not driving in with the, passenger car. They're driving in with ambulances and fire trucks.
Right, I understand. Astle Street's also a very old, narrow road as you're coming up the hill. Thank you.
Anyone else with any questions, comments, or concerns?
Hi, Brian Anderson, 235 Astle Street. I think the access on Astle Street is more for their construction equipment to get in. I don't think any ambulances, fire engines, or police are going to come in Astle Street. They're all going to come in from Route 38. I don't think they want to get their 500 dump trucks to go up the Route 38, 85 feet to get onto the site. They want to bring everything in through Astle Street. And again, I agree with the traffic. Astle Street tonight, 2 cars got through the light. So if you're 8, 10 cars, you got to wait for that light to change 5 times to get onto 38. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions, comments, or concerns? Going once, twice. All right, I'll bring it back to the board. Does anyone on the board have any additional questions or comments at this time? Seeing
Just
none?
one quick one. I did see, I know we had a quick note about 90 units versus 92. I also noticed that the floor plans had different parking numbers listed in different parking configurations than the rendering. So any and all sets going forward, I would like to see a consistent set of numbers. We will not be averaging or, taking any best case scenario or anything like that. I think if the information all lines up, it all matches from set to set, drawing to drawing, I think that just basically puts your best foot forward in terms of, putting the best face on the project that you can.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
All set?
All right. Anything else from the petitioners at this time?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, based upon scheduling issues, we'd be looking, if possible, for the April 21st meeting.
Which is now the 28th.
Which is actually now the 28th, because that turns out to be a holiday, so we moved it to the 28th.
That is fine as well.
Yeah? Okay. All right, so could I have I presume 7 p.m. is open? Can I take a motion to continue this to our April 28th meeting at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
We have a motion made. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, we'll see you on the 28th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, board members.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend maybe we take a brief recess, because I imagine these folks don't all want to sit through our zoning bylaw
All right,
discussion.
so just so everybody knows, we have one more agenda item, that's zoning bylaw amendment discussions that we're going to have. If you want to be here for that, that's fine. If you are all here for what just happened, I'm going to give you a few minutes to clear out so the noise doesn't disturb. So we'll take a short recess. We are moving on to agenda item E, which is zoning bylaw amendments for economic development for annual town meeting. Sorry, we have a few folks heading out. That's fine. Ms. Latta, how do you want to do this? Do you want to sort of just give the quick little...
So because this is a public hearing, you folks can motion to waive the public hearing, or we
Okay.
can read them all in their entirety, and then we can just go through them one by one.
So I'll take a motion to waive the public reading, because we have discussed these already. They've been out there, so. All right, so I have a motion made, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. So are we're not giving these numbers or anything, right?
They don't currently have numbers, no. So these are just articles as submitted to the warrant.
All right, so do you want to just
Sure, we can
make
go
it
in the
easier
or-
that way?
Yes,
We'll
we
do
can
it
go
in
in the
order.
order that they appear on the legal notice that I included in your packets. So, let's see, starting at the top there, the article is to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 2, which is definitions, and Section 543, Appendix A, the table of uses, to allow for commercial and additional commercial industrial uses, including banquet and event facility, battery energy storage systems, cold storage warehouse, data center, light industrial warehouse, as well as insert a new section 7.6 related to the regulation of battery energy storage systems. So these are just, definitions that we've discussed quite a bit over the last couple of months. Getting some feedback from both this board and the select board, I think that we have arrived at some pretty salient definitions that are consistent with industry standards and ones that will help attract new businesses to our commercial and industrial properties.
All right, so I'm going to treat this, just because we've been through these in some detail because they're coming from us, I'm only going to discuss them amongst us if someone has something. So let me know if anybody wants to discuss it. Otherwise, I'll just move to the public comment and then make an emotion on that. Is that all right? So is everybody okay with this one?
Also.
All right, so I will open it up to the audience or anyone who has any comment on this zoning article. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Does the board have a recommendation for town meeting?
I recommend we endorse this article for the warrant on town meeting.
All right, so we're recommending adoption.
Correct. So it's already, yes, the board
We've
is
already-
already elected to
we did,
submit.
yeah.
So you've submitted, you're the sponsors, and at this point, you're advising town meeting, so you would either recommend for or against adoption.
Okay, so we have a motion for adoption. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Moving on to the next article.
All right, very good. Next article is to see if the town will vote to amend Section 6.2 of the zoning bylaw, which regulates signage to create flexibility for business owners with electronic menu boards and modify sign requirements related to available commercial and industrial space in town.
All right,
So
so
your
these are the
folks-
message boards we've also discussed before. Does anybody have any additional comments on these?
All set.
Seeing none, open up to the audience. Anyone in the audience with any questions or comments on this article? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Does the board have a recommendation for town meeting?
Recommend adoption.
I have a motion to recommend adoption. A second. Motion is seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. Moving on to the third article.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 5.3.1E, to insert a new section that reads as follows: no swimming pool shall be maintained, constructed, or installed unless it has at least a 4-foot fence completely enclosing the pool, or the pool is at least 4 feet above grade.
All right. Same. Anyone with any questions or comments on this one?
Just one quick question. So when this says to modify requirements for accessory structure is just referring to pools?
So generally speaking, all of the requirements for accessory structures are contained in the same section. So this is just adding a new section specific to swimming pools. That provision covers pools, sheds, fences, flagpoles, all that stuff.
Okay, all set.
All right. So I'll open up to the audience. Anyone with any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. Does the board have a recommendation for town meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to make a recommendation to adopt the article.
I have a motion made. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimous. And that brings us to the final article.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this one is to see if the town will vote to amend the existing zoning map dated October 2024 by removing all outlying parcels, so you have the map in front of you, in the town center district, and include them in the residence 40 district, except for map 47, lot 164, which is already a multifamily development, and that would be included in the multifamily district. This map is going to be included in the warrant and was sent to every property owner within that catchment area.
All right. Anyone with any questions or comments on this one on the board? Anyone in the audience with questions, comments, or concerns on this article? Sir? Wait till you come up, and then if you just give your name and your address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
My name is James Williamson. I am the owner of 47 Pleasant Street, the parcel right next to the where the old fire station was. I did receive this. I have a couple questions. I don't know if you guys are really in charge of this. Why did this proposal come about in the first place? Because I know this land was recently rezoned to Town Center District, and now it's being amended, and I'm not sure if it was a petition by somebody or from the town, or just looking for a little clarity.
So this is sponsored by the planning board, so us.
So you guys sponsored this? Okay. And is there a purpose?
Well, basically, if Ms. Lauder, if you want to do it, or you want me to do it?
Sure. So the town center district was put in place in 2022, and it was creating an underlying district from the overlay districts that used to exist. I'm not sure. There was a condition where the entirety of all the properties fronting Main Street was one general commercial district with pockets of overlay districts. During the zoning bylaw rewrite, folks on this board and others, and members of our zoning bylaw committee, found that that was very confusing and made projects really hard to review. So instead of having the underlying district for everybody and then the overlays in different areas, they elected to just adopt the overlay districts as the underlying districts. So the town center district has been there the whole time. It's just codified differently for this property. And in the fall, there was a citizens petition to look at different properties within the town center district, particularly the ones that reach all the way down Pleasant Street, much further past your property. And there was a lot of discussion surrounding why the district even stretched that far, and largely the lots contained in that catchment area outlined in the letter that you received, 90% of them are single family homes. So there was an interest by this board and others to have the zoning reflect what's largely on the ground today, and to be more consistent with the other business districts along Main Street. If you look at our map as a whole, you'll notice that the town center district alone is the only business district that encroaches that far away from Main Street. Most of the other business districts, it's either the parcel fronting Main Street or the ones immediately behind it, and that's just to create a level of cohesion, so you're not creating a condition that makes the parcels on Main Street unbuildable, because there is that 50-foot buffer having to accommodate it when you're up against an R40 district parcel. So it's more succinct. The Reader's Digest version of that is just discussions from a different citizens petition in the fall generated these discussions and resulted in this proposal.
Okay. It concerns me because I bought the property fairly recently. When I bought it, it was structured as a two-family dwelling. Because it was in the town center district and one of the units had not been occupied, its grandfathered right as a two-family went away. And I was, in order to pull a permit on the property to do necessary repairs, I had to remove one of the units and turn it back into a single-family property. I was okay doing that when purchasing it because it was in the town center district, which gave me other opportunities to redevelop the property, making the parcel have more value to me than just a single-family property for its future potential. And since that happened, now that potential is being taken away. So, just as somebody who owns property in this district and it's right on the line from where you guys are proposing the change, I'm not in support of it, and I would like to see if maybe there's something that can be done about it. I see that you guys have one section here to change the district to a multifamily district, which would be more acceptable to me. I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but being a taxpayer of the town and being led to believe something and then it kind of being changed without me really having any say in it, it's just a little frustrating.
Okay. Anyone with any comments?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
And to be clear, this is why we're required by statute to hold these public hearings, to get feedback. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if, if just me, the only person who showed up who owns a property in that district, I don't know if that's enough. But I don't believe that there's also a bunch of people in that district pushing for this either. And I know that, the next 2 parcels next to mine are, one's a single family and one's a multifamily, but neither of them are owner occupied. So I would say, even in that little pocket in that district, it does go to show that, a lot of these people aren't homeowners and it is an investment property for them, and that area kind of precludes to that.
So just a question, what's your property now? Single family?
It's a single family.
So you took out the second floor unit or the other unit and made it a single family
Yeah,
unit?
the old building, I think it was Ed was here, and he, I talked to him about keeping it as a 2-family, and he wasn't for it. And then, instead of fighting him, I said, okay, I'll turn it back into a single family with the assumption that down the road, because it was in this town center district, I would at least have some ability to redevelop the property. But as a single family, it really cuts down my options.
Okay. So, I mean, there are a few different, I'm not sure anybody on the board is prepared to alter what we have presented right now. So from that, and the same situation would happen anytime we change a zone. There's properties that are grandfathered in from the previous zoning. There are also mechanisms, if you're trying to freeze the zoning, you'd have to go about that, in the proper, for something you're planning to do. But once we change zoning, that does eventually take effect. And if there isn't any kind of freeze to the zoning, the only other option, I suppose, would be you could present, an amendment to it at town meeting, and see if, town meeting is willing to support an amendment that would alter, our proposal.
Okay. So the correct way to amend this would be go to town meeting and just ask for an amendment, or is it easier to try and get something done here since you guys are the ones who did propose this originally?
Well, you did come here and you did present it to us. I'm not seeing anyone here recommending changing our proposal. So the next step would be when it gets to town meeting, if you wish to amend what we've sent to town meeting, there you would file an amendment, whatever that might be.
And then town meeting votes based on my proposal versus the proposal you guys have already.
Well, they'd vote on your amendment.
Right.
Then they would go to either, if they adopted your amendment, we'd then vote on the amended article. If they defeated your amendment, we'd go back to the article as presented. Fair?
Yes.
Explanation? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, so if his property did revert back to an R40, is it?
Mm-hmm.
So now is the door open there to, go for an ADU?
Yes.
And kind of, which technically reverts the property back to a 2-family. Is that a path forward for the resident who's got the question?
I've thought of that, and I have looked into trying to freeze the zoning as well. So I do feel like I do have a couple options. I also thought one of the options would be to come to you guys and ask, if you could leave my parcel out or a couple parcels out, or, switch from the R40 to the multifamily district that you guys have proposed already. But it seems like obviously not being a part of the initial discussion that brought up about this proposal, it seems like I'm a little too late. The problem I see with the ADU is that there are certain restrictions that I'm not sure are going to be very beneficial for me.
So, Ms. Lauder, a question. Do we have to vote on this one tonight, or can we delay that for next meeting?
Technically speaking, you could keep the public hearing open and continue this discussion, and I can hold back on submitting the recommendations to the select board, which is where the recommendations go to when they're compiled. So that's certainly something that can be done.
I mean, we could submit the ones we approved and then wait for
I mean,
this one? I
the
mean,
timing
I'd
doesn't
like to
really
review
matter.
it for this,
Yeah.
for this gentleman. He came here, waited for this whole time frame. I don't know much about what your particular parcel is, but I'd like to have time to review it myself, but.
I'd appreciate
that's-
that.
That's not, that's just my
Chairman,
opinion.
Just
but-
a few words for the resident. So one, if you want to do, I would suggest pursuing all avenues and give yourself as many options as possible. Sounds like you've already laid some groundwork. If you're going to bring an amendment to town meeting, there are rules to do that. You can't just walk up to the mic and say, I'd like an amendment. So it has to be written, it has to be submitted, you have to have 2 copies, submit one to the town clerk at town meeting, et cetera. That being said, everything done properly. I see your point. I think that your parcel would be in context with, it's a stone's throw from Sycamore and other multifamilies, and if you proposed an amendment at town meeting, I would certainly come to the mic and say that, you came here to present this to us and lay out your case, and that I felt it was a valid case and worth considering.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So I'm a little unsure of where we stand on this one. Mr. Fattalia is recommending leaving, okay, so I'm sorry, are you all set now?
I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
did you guys have something? So we're still in the public hearing, so feel free. Should you give your name and your address, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is Diane Howes. In Massachusetts, it's 103 Pleasant Street. We just inherited it January 23rd when the gentleman died and willed it to us. We're ending up in the same situation. Mr. Woodbury's house was a duplex. It is still a duplex. We just had an appraisal done on it. Everything the appraiser said is a duplex. But when we went to the town hall, the building inspector said, no, it's a single family. But we don't have frontage on Pleasant Street. We have an easement, and there is another house, 101 Pleasant Street, is right like across this easement. It's on 3/4 of an acre, so I'm pretty sure that we could go with a single family and an ADU. I think there's enough, room there for everything. But it's kind of, we've been tossing back and forth. So if you, like you said, if we could go with an ADU substitute for the other side of this house, where it's a duplex now, is there any other writings or something that we could put into that amendment with this gentleman? We're just we're probably 3 or 4 houses up from him. So I wasn't sure if we could just make that comment, but I liked your idea that perhaps it is a duplex now, and perhaps we could fall under that too. I don't know.
That's why I think, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Fattalia has a good idea. Let's get a little more information on this before we put it to a vote.
Yeah, that's, the only thing I would say is, though, that, you do have to be mindful of, what would ultimately look like, if these things get disconnected, you're talking about spot zoning, and now you have a different issue. So, while I appreciate that some lots, something may result from us doing what we think is, a valid plan, we'd have a very difficult time justifying hopscotch of, of pieces that we leave out of what we're doing. If we're doing what we're doing and there's a reason to do it, that's why, And then, it's not worth looking at, that's fine, but, it has to be something, we want to stay contiguous with whatever we're doing. And if that doesn't work and we're just swallowing back up big portions of, or noticeable portions of what we just were doing, you start to wonder, what do we do it for? There's a reason to pull this away from where it was and bring it back up to Main Street, and to try and keep it to Main Street where it probably should have been to begin with. Because we're also, in the reverse of what's being presented here, we're also imposing certain requirements on properties that don't make sense for where they actually are so far away from Main Street. They're under the rules that a Main Street piece of property is what we were really envisioning, but we went so far back that now you've got single-family lots subject to those rules, and that the unfairness goes the other way then, and that we're asking them to comply with things no one else in an R40 would ever have to do.
It's fair
Mr.
to say,
Chair.
I don't think in this area, any one district is going to be right for every parcel in the area that we're looking at.
Right, I mean, every zone bumps up against another zone. Something happens next, you know what I mean? So,
One more point, Mr. Chairman. Two-family dwellings are not allowed in the town center district, so to achieve some semblance of a two-family, the single family with the accessory dwelling unit or a family suite would be the way to achieve something close to that. The family suite, of course, can go up to 1,000 square feet, but comes with the owner occupation requirement. The accessory dwelling unit, I'd be happy to have an offline conversation with you, but in a nutshell, you are allowed to go up to 900 square feet with absolutely no restrictions, as long as the principal dwelling is at least 1,800 square feet, because it also can't exceed half the gross floor area. So that might be an option as well. Thank you.
I mean, I definitely agree with, you know, kind of why you guys went about this. I don't think a lot of this area does make sense to be zoned town center dwelling, and I agree with you that if it is a single family, it does put unnecessary kind of restrictions on people, and I kind of ran into that issue myself when I purchased the property. But I do see that you have one section of this section of the multifamily district. I don't know if my opinion matters, but I think it might make sense if you took this whole parcel that you're trying to change back to R40 and just made the whole thing multifamily district. It solves your kind of town center
yeah,
issue.
but it really wouldn't, in that we don't want to turn that entire area into multifamily.
So why that one section is it multifamily?
Well, Mrs. Lauder will explain it to
I
you.
can provide some clarification there. So the adjacent parcel, Heritage Drive, is already zoned multifamily, and the parcel in question is Gettysburg Commons.
Yeah.
And that's also an existing multifamily. So again, trying to match the on-the-ground uses with the district to prevent, you know, undue burdens when people are trying to develop parcels.
Okay. I understand, just a thought.
No, totally
Yeah,
fair.
you know, it really was just recognize the fact that a giant project currently is on that
Yeah,
piece.
right, and I know where Heritage Drive is, so it does make sense.
So, I mean.
What is your address again?
It's 47 Pleasant Street.
47, so it's the building right next to where the garage bays for the old firehouse are.
That's fine. But what I would suggest, since, you know, you have some advocacy, you know, interest in this, is if we're going to, you know, put this off to our next meeting, if you want to try and talk with Ms. Lauder about, you know, maybe if you were considering doing this as an amendment, whatever you were thinking of with the amendment might be what you bring and discuss with Ms. Lauder, so that it might be something we would consider the next time. But I'm not looking for Ms. Lauder to do all the heavy lifting on trying to come up with a way to, you know, sort of undo what we've just done. So if you want to have some suggestion of a couple of pieces of property that makes sense to go back into this, then I would ask you to present that to Ms. Lauder, and then she can, you know, move that on to us. But, you know.
I can speak with her about that in further detail. After looking at it originally, I did kind of have an idea of what I thought might be viable to stay in town center district or switch over to multifamily, but at the risk of kind of your postmark zoning. But it would just kind of be everything on that triangle connected to town hall. And I know that I know a couple owners there, and I know that they don't live there. There's 2 parcels, I'm not sure, but I know the rest aren't owner occupied, so.
So this isn't set in stone. We have to go to town meeting, and town meeting members are going to approve this, yay or nay. So, just so you know, we can recommend adoption of this article, and then it has to be approved at town hall, at town meeting, one way or the other.
Yeah.
If your amendment comes in and it sounds like it's legit, and they may accept it, and they'll vote on it, it could go yay or nay. So, but just so you know, not over here right now.
Yeah, I've never tried to pass something through town meeting, so I'm not aware of what
Without even pulling it up,
is.
you know, but how many, if he's talking about the triangle that continues on, how many pieces of property is that?
So
I have it right in front of me.
it looks
so
like it's 4 different parcels.
If you don't mind.
Yep. So it includes the town hall and the town hall annex, excuse me, and the old fire station, so that goes across one.
Yep.
The next layer of the triangle is this gentleman's property, 47 Pleasant Street on the right, 48 and 52 Dewey on the left, and then to complete the triangle is 61 and 69 Pleasant Street.
Okay, and that gets you that triangle piece at the bottom.
Correct. And the town hall annex and the old fire station are retaining the town center district because they're the ones immediately behind town hall. I don't know why this is being annoying.
Okay. All right. All right, so that's, I mean, we can think about that. So basically, I suppose that that's the recommendation or the request for us to at least consider. So that, I guess we can mull over and then, you know, think about what we think, and we'll let Ms. Louder weigh in, you know, pros and cons. And then we can revisit this at the next meeting. And we'll leave the public hearing open until then to just mull it over for a little bit. I would recommend, though, because I can't tell you how that will turn out, that, as Mr. Ciampa pointed out, that you continue to pursue your other avenues and get your ducks in a row in the event that, you know, we decide not to change it and you want to go one of those other paths.
Okay.
Right?
Yep. Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. So then we have a motion, I'll take a motion to continue this public hearing.
So it depends on when you want to continue it to. Everything so far this evening has been continued to either April 7th or April 28th. This board can convene on the 24th to just wrap up this discussion, and it'll be a quick night, but it's up to you.
I mean, I'm loath to bring us in here for this is the only reason if people don't want to.
Concur.
I mean, that's up to everybody here. I mean,
Should we do it Zoom or no?
Well, it would have to be a public meeting, so I
I
mean.
see, okay.
So is April 7th too late?
No, it's not too late. It's just that agenda already has some heavy agenda items on it, so. But if you folks want to have another
I mean, I
marathon
don't feel like
evening.
this is going to be a long discussion once we
No.
get there.
We can
We're
have
either
it right
doing
at the
it or we're
beginning
not
of the
doing it,
meeting.
and then we're going on from there, so.
I think we'll decide before the meeting.
No, I don't want to drag everybody in here on
I don't think so.
you know, I mean, it does, and not that it weighs one way or the other, but that means there are no meetings between now and the town election, I believe, correct?
Right.
Is that accurate?
Is it fair to say at our level, if we were to do anything, we would just carve this triangle out and put that back?
That's what we're talking about, as a consideration.
That's kind of just a thumbs up, thumbs down. Do we remove that way?
Well, let me ask it this
Is that
way.
going to
then, 'cause maybe
satisfy
we-
these two people? No, right?
No, that's not going to, and it wouldn't solve the other problem they have anyway, so.
Yeah, it might
but
be a separate issue for them.
Ms. Lauder, I mean,
Yes.
in the bigger picture, you know, is there any major con to leaving the triangle?
From a planning perspective, like you mentioned, ideally you want the entire district to be contiguous. So you don't want to pick out random parcels and retain the zoning. You know, if somebody who has, you know, just for sake of argument, 68 Pleasant Street, right? It's across the street, it's diagonal, it's separate from everything. Just wanting to do that parcel wouldn't necessarily make sense from a planning perspective, from a cohesive zoning perspective. But I don't see the harm necessarily if the board wanted to keep the town center district for the entire triangle, if that's what they want to do.
I mean, I think where it's bounded by streets that, you know, you could say that there's a pretty clean line of demarcation for that particular piece. And we're just using the property line of the town hall annex and the fire station as the line of demarcation. But if you were to go by the streets, then, you know, those 5 parcels are within the same street boundary as town hall annex and fire stations.
I mean, there's also the argument
I could
that
see
the
it.
only
I'm not
reason
saying,
that
you know.
other rest of that triangle in the reverse wasn't removed was because the annex and the fire station currently sit on them.
Which was going to be my follow-up.
Because that cutoff would have been
Right.
consistent with the rest of the cutoff otherwise.
Right.
So, I mean, we're really doing the same thing, I suppose. So.
And keeping the town hall annex and the fire station there makes it more of a clean cut across, so you're picking up all the parcels that are immediately behind the ones fronting Main Street. So it was really more of a, to match the conventions for the other business districts. But this is certainly something, if the board wants to consider, the board can put forth an amendment, or they can.
However, I can also see not that it's, any time in the near future or anything like that, but I can also see the idea of that piece, depending on what happens, the entire piece being something that could be developed, basically starting with the annex and the fire station, if those other pieces were included in it. So I could see some reasoning behind the idea that it could, make sense to keep it in that zone, because it would then feed right to town hall. Like, that's what's in front of it. And I mean, I don't envision town hall going anywhere. So this isn't like it's going to suddenly have some other thing in front of it that seems really out of place. So, I mean, I don't have a huge problem with it. I mean, we're doing a lot of what we wanted to do here. If it turns out that this is a give that's not such a major malfunction, I don't have a problem with it. Does anybody else?
I think that probably the idea of having the residents that are interested talk to Ms. Lauder and.
Well, no, we're trying to figure this out right now. We're going to try and deal with this right now.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. So if
Well,
no
I
one.
don't have a problem with remaining it, but I'm just wondering if at the end of the day, is that what they really, the residents are looking for?
Well, I would say we can do this, it would be in the reverse then. If somebody that's in that triangle thinks that they really want out, then they can come in and do the amendment at town meeting. I suspect nobody here on this board would have an issue with it if they put that forward. But they're not here tonight, to ask that. But, if we make this decision, then they have that option. And I certainly wouldn't have a problem if someone said, you know what, I'm at the point of that triangle, I'd rather be out. You know what I mean? That's fine.
So what's some of the downside for it? Like, they couldn't do a ADU? Is that one of the things if they're in this town center district?
Yes, so the ADU, the new law that was implemented back in August of '24, only allows accessory dwelling units by right in districts that allow single-family homes. And currently, the town center district does not allow single-family homes, so every single-family home that is in that catchment area is considered a pre-existing non-conforming and therefore not eligible for a family suite or an ADU. And are also, as Mr. Johnson indicated, subject to business district setbacks, requirements, and things like that, which hamstrings them a little bit.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
And just to remind me, and the property that he's referencing, is it right next to the annex piece?
Yes, next to the old fire station.
It's the one on the Pleasant Street side?
Correct, yes.
All right. You know what? I mean, it's not really, it's contiguous to that. It's not spot zoning to me. You want to limit to that one piece of property and put it back with the original, with the town center, and leave the rest of the triangle out then? And
That's up
change it to.
It's up to you guys. I think there's.
Because they're not, no one on those other parcels is here complaining that they'd like to stay where they were in. You know what I mean? So they didn't think to come.
They were all sent letters on February 24th.
And they would have no idea we were about to put them back in the, in the town center. So
I think you're on the right track there.
I'd say if we add that one contiguous piece next to the fire station, leave the others out, so they're coming out of the town center and moving into the R40, and now subject to all the options of being an R40, which I suspect they've been warned and don't have a problem with, or they would have been here tonight. So I think that's cleaner. We don't have to jump over anybody to get what's being asked done.
Sure.
So I don't have a problem with that. Anybody else have a problem with that?
I'm good with that.
So a motion to amend our article map?
Yes.
It's just the map, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
I'd like to make a motion to amend/revise our map to exclude 47 Pleasant Street from the revision to the zoning.
the removal from town center. Is that,
Removal from the change to accept it and make sure it retains the town center district, yeah.
however the wording, yeah. So that's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion
Need
carries.
a motion to adopt?
So now we have the new version with the new map. So now we'll take a motion to recommend adoption
Of the amended article.
of the amended version.
To recommend adoption of the amended article with the revised map excluding 47 Pleasant Street.
All right. So motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. So that takes care of the last article unanimously.
Young man.
How's that, huh? Local government at its
Really,
finest.
we just cut the attendance of town meeting yet again. You know.
I have a feeling it might be popular this time.
All right, so that brings
Oh,
us
excuse me,
to...
Mr. Chairman, closing the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. All right, that brings us to correspondence, which we did not have any. Oh,
Excuse
wait,
me,
I'm
there
sorry.
was- there
Oh,
was
I'm sorry,
one
that's
sent
right. I
along.
tucked that away. I apologize.
Yep, so
We did receive a notice from
Excuse
East
me.
Point Energy,
Excuse
which,
me, folks, we're still in live session. It's okay.
from East Point Energy regarding their meeting at the Hilton Garden on Tuesday, March 18th at 6:30. So all are invited, and you all have that in your package, so there is our correspondence. Any other business not known at the time of the posting of the agenda? Do we have any such business that anybody wishes to discuss?
Nope.
Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait, I'm sorry, I got to stop one point. We have no business scheduled for our March 24th meeting.
Not anymore.
What is the pleasure of the board in,
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we cancel this March 24th meeting.
okay, so we have a motion made and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We'll be back at our next meeting will be April 7th.
Correct.
All right, so any other, and I'm sorry, again, just to note, at that point, we are post-town election.
Reorganizing?
And we do reorganization and whatnot and so forth. So, all right, so any other business not known at the time of the posting agenda anybody wishes to discuss? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I have a motion made, seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. We will see you on the 7th.